Hello, how you doing? My name is Katia Weiner. I'm with Blanco Realty.
I'm Benjamin Davies. I'm with Independent Inspector Network.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the process when you do a home inspection.
Well, as a home inspector, I've been doing it for 2 years. Currently, I work with Toll Brothers. I do new builds, 1-year warranties, any buying and selling of homes. I also check for termites. I was a termite inspector for 2 years. What do you want to know about termites?
Okay, because you said that you also do termite inspections when you do your home inspection, which is something that we don't usually see from home inspectors. How do you help the clients feel more at ease if you see termites in the home?
Gotcha. Well, as I said, I was a termite inspector for 2 years. So as I am going through the house, I'm looking automatically for termites, any little pinholes. They can be really small, literally like a pin hole in the wall. It could also be a tube coming down or damage to the wood. And so I'm automatically looking for that already. I don't charge for that. It can be somewhere around like $50 to $100 sometimes for people to inspect that. And termite companies a third-party company will have to come and inspect that for you. I was a termite inspector, so I tend to just do that as a courtesy. But to make people feel more comfortable with termites, Arizona has a different kind of termite than most states. The termites here, they live in the ground, and so they're also really a lot smaller. They're clear, they have smaller jaws, they eat less, and so when they're doing a lot of their eating, they just tend to eat what's easy. They can eat paint, so their trails can look like the same color as paint, which is a fun fact. But you can see them going up a wall. They'll leave little trails, or they'll leave indents in the wall. And so they'll just mostly eat the surface here because they're so small. They just like to eat what's easy. Whereas in other states, they'll eat a whole wall or a whole flooring, whereas here it's just generally a line or just the surface. So it's more annoying than anything in Arizona. So I tend to tell that to a customer to make them at ease, because then they don't feel like their whole house is going to fall apart. It's just like a baseboard that they have to replace, or they have to patch up the wall. And also, they're easy to treat. You can use a foam in the wall, so you can poke a hole in the wall and go up the wall and keep foaming the wall, and it'll put that foam behind the wall. You won't even see the foam, but you can hear it, expand in the wall. And once they crawl through that, the chemical will then essentially starve the termite to death. And hopefully they will feed that chemical to the queen, and the queen will die, and then the whole colony will die.
Interesting. So would you say that it's more common than that to find a house with termites here?
It is really common in Arizona to find termites. They are like ants, cousin to an ant. They fight each other, but they're basically cousins, and they hate each other, but they're as common and as random as ants are. So termites will show up anywhere, anytime. You will see something popping out of a wall that looks alien to you. And you're like, what is that? And you'll wipe it away, and then it'll come back. And you'll say, well, what is that? It's a little dirt tube. It looks like a dirt tube. I can show you a picture of one. But they pop up at the outside of the home a lot of times, near the bottom of the house. What we call the stem wall, which is where that lip is, that kind of goes down and in. And the house is sitting on the foundation. That foundation is called a stem wall. You'll see a lot of those tubes coming up into the bottom of the house and getting into the wood, and that's how they usually get into a house, or they get into the house from a crack that's in the foundation.
Okay, I have a question. So when you do the home inspection and you see termites, do you need to be certified? Does anyone need to be certified or anything like that in order for them to take that in consideration? Once you do your home inspection, you say there's termites in the house. Would they need an additional inspection or something around that nature, or just because you have done that before, then buyers will be able to take the home inspection and just have that?
So as a home inspector, I also took the termite exam, and that is a whole nother thing to be able to be an applicator of termite chemicals. So I can use the chemicals as an applicator. I took the exam, which is relatively difficult. It has some mathematical problems you have to learn. You have to learn about all sorts of different wood-eating insects. And once you take that test and you pass it, you're certified as an applicator.
You're certified?
Yeah.
And
I'm certified to look for them, and I can treat them if you need to.
Okay. And this is a no extra cost, just with the home inspection you're getting this?
Right. So I look for termites. I can tell you if you have them or not, or at least if I saw any evidence of them. But if you need the report, I do have to work with a third-party company, an LLC pest control company, to write the report if you need something legal, like a legal document.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I will just do it as a courtesy and tell you you don't have any. Or you do have some, and I suggest that you hire a pest control company to treat it.
And how effective are the treatments?
The treatments are usually very effective. It's harder to treat a post-tension home, which a post-tension home is basically you have your house sitting on a slab of concrete, and the concrete has rebar running through it in a grid. Mm-hmm. And you're not allowed to drill or cut into a slab that has post-tension, has that rebar running through it. Because they're at high tension, and if you break one of those cords, it will whip up from the concrete. So you don't want to drill into concrete that's like that. So to treat termites in a house like that, you treat the outside to prevent the termites from coming in. So you dig a trench around the house, and then you pour a certain amount of chemical around the house as like a moat, kind of like a castle.
Okay.
So water around a castle, and then you push it back so it looks normal again. And then to treat any termites that are in the home already.
So what if they're already like in the roof?
Right. So if they're already in the roof or they're in the wall, they always take the shortest route back to the ground because they live in the ground. So they travel up, they eat, and then if you see them in the roof, they're trying to take the shortest route back to the ground. So you can almost always predict where they're coming from. Okay. So let's say they're up there, well, that means they're coming from that wall and they're in the ground there. So if it wasn't a post-tension home, I would drill a hole and I would pour chemical in the ground in about a 10-foot area around that so that the chemical was all in the ground. But because it's a post-tension home, I then have to poke little holes in the wall, probably about every 2 feet, and shoot foam into the wall, and then poke a hole into where they're actually coming out of and shoot foam into there, just to make sure that they're going to crawl through it, and then hopefully they take that chemical back to the queen.
So if a buyer finds termites in the home, then they could feel a little bit more comfortable getting the treatment. They can feel like, okay, I can take this house and feel comfortable that the treatment is going to suffice, and we're not going to have termites anymore.
You may still get termites in the future. It's not 100% guaranteed that it's going to take them all away. Okay. But what I tell people is that termites tend to be more annoying than anything. They're not going to necessarily destroy your house.
Your house is not going to fall apart.
It's not going to fall apart.
Okay.
No,
because that's the first thought. Like as a buyer, I'd be like, oh my gosh, no, is my house going to fall apart? Yes, definitely.
No. If they have been there for several years, they can do a lot more damage, but it takes them a long time. So if you don't see an immediate large amount of damage, it's probably not a big deal. They probably haven't been there for very long. If you see a large amount of damage, then you probably need to fix that pillar or something, or whatever it is. But no, your house is probably not going to fall apart. I can almost give them 99% certainty of that. I can't give them that 100%.
Right.
But I can pretty much say, hey, this doesn't look like...
So it had to be like a really bad case of termites.
It had to be really bad for a really long time.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
What else do you do? You were mentioning something about irrigation before, that it's...
Yeah, so I also, as a home inspector, I tend to test irrigation. Okay. So you open those boxes, usually they're locked. I tend to carry a key with me that can open most of them, but sometimes they have a metal key that the owner has. and I don't have access to it. But if I can, I will test irrigation, just because it's nice to know if you've got leaks in the ground.
Okay.
It's nice to know. That last one that I checked, the irrigation was spraying right through the driveway, and I was like, "Oh, look, there's the leak."
Yes.
So it's easy to see, and it's nice as a realtor. The buyer is not going to not blame you now or me for not checking the irrigation.
Definitely.
And it can be hard to learn the different irrigations. There's a couple different boxes and the way that they work. They'd be a little tricky, and sometimes they can be wired differently and not correctly, and so you're trying to figure out which combination is going to make the irrigation go. But it doesn't take me very long to check it. So I take an extra 5 minutes to figure out if the irrigation works or not.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we can say that you're the best home inspector to go to.
I don't think I'm the best, but I think I'm pretty good.
So where can we find you?
Well, my name is Benjamin Davies. I'm with Independent Home Inspector Network, and my email is ben@independenthomeinspectornetwork.com, and then my phone number is 480-993-7104.
Perfect.